young people, if you have any questions, just start getting those questions together, because this is a part where I want to hear any questions and anyone. Here's what I want to say to you. Never be ashamed of where you are or what you've been through. You didn't do this to yourself. I meet a lot of people that are embarrassed about their situation. They didn't do it to themselves. I meet a lot of people who are afraid, and I'm talking adults, to speak on what it is they've been through or what has happened to them. Don't be ashamed of it. Can I say, if you tell it, what does anybody else have to say? So, married at 5 days before I turned 19, pregnant at 20, first baby at 21, second at 22, third at 23, and ended up a single parent because he was abusive. And I thought I knew how to be a wife. He thought he knew how to be a husband. We didn't know anything. And so being in that situation, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to tell people that he was beating me up every day and beating me down every night. I didn't want to tell anybody because I had never witnessed divorce. So I figured I had to stay there. And so I stayed there. And 5 years and 3 babies later, I remember the words my mother said, Donna, you don't have to do this. And if he ever mistreats you, take it as long as you want to take it. And then don't take it anymore. Nobody wants to take it. And when I heard those words 5 years and 3 babies later, I was standing at a sink washing dishes. And the water from my eyes were going into the sink with the dishes. And I said, I don't want to take this. And I began to tell people what was happening to me. I began to tell my friends. I took off the turtleneck that I was wearing to hide what he was doing to me. And then he looked at me saying, what are you doing? I said, no, what are you doing? Because I'm not taking it anymore. And after that, he became more strategic on how he beat me up and beat me down. But I became more strategic on my plan of escape. And if you ever read my book, Life is a Puzzle Until You Find the Missing Pieces, I literally escaped from him. It took me 9 months to plan and plot. But one day when he was leaving for work, if he had looked in his rearview mirror, he would have seen the whole neighborhood coming to help me pack up and leave from Texas out of a 3-bedroom home and drive back to Connecticut. That chapter is 3 babies in a truck, because I wasn't fooling around and I wasn't taking it no more. And the reason why I wrote the book and the reason why I want to say to you is not your fault. Whatever's done to you is not your fault. Now, after I left from there, I ended up taking care of my parents. So now, I remember you heard me earlier say my parents were in their mid-40s when they got me. And now I'm a grown woman with babies, and now my mother gets diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Well, I'm taking care of them, and I'm taking care of babies. I ended up on the welfare system. That was embarrassing to me. I wasn't raised to know welfare. But I couldn't take care of the babies and my parents with the money that I would have made at a job. I couldn't afford a babysitter. But I had gifted hands, and I was smart. I was smart enough to know this is not the life I want to live. And so I began to do crafts on weekends and go to college during the week. Until I got my degree in business, my kids were underneath the table when I would do business on top of the table. And let me just say this to you, young people. You're gifted. You have giftedness in you. You have creativity beyond. And all you have to do is put it together. But never be ashamed of what it is you're going through. Tell somebody, this is what I'm facing. This is how I feel, because it's not your fault. I want to end it with this. I began to drink because I had no place to turn. I wasn't telling anybody. I wasn't sharing with anybody what I was going through. So I turned to a bottle. And before I knew it, it had more control over me than I had over it. And when I went to go put that bottle down and realized that I couldn't, now I had another issue. People saw me through the day and thought that, oh, she got it going on. But at night, I really knew I didn't. But I knew that this was not my life when I realized how much control it had over me. And what am I saying to you? If there is something that has more control over you than you have over it, anything, your mindset, things people say, stop it. and let it know that it's mind over matter. And my mind is going to take over this matter. And when I made up my mind that I'm not letting this or anything else stop me from being successful, because I knew that was in my DNA. I knew I wasn't going to sit back and allow anything anybody said or even the way I felt to hold me back, is when I decided I'm not taking this anymore. I was ashamed to go to a program. I was ashamed to admit it. But God, when I put it in his hands, when I began to learn who he was, and when he began these words, you can cast your cares upon me, and I will take it, I became crazy enough to believe it. So if people want to call me crazy, yes, I am. I'm crazy enough to believe I can do anything I set my mind to. I'm crazy enough to believe I can get out of the boat because I know who's standing there to catch me. And so I say to you, to young people, the very hour that I sincerely said, God, I can't take this anymore. I was smoking and drinking for 20 years, and I smoked more than cigarettes. So let me say, I'm not ashamed. You know why? Look at me now. And the very hour that I sincerely in my heart said, God, take this, he did. And he delivered me, I want you to hear, and set me free. Yeah. And what does that mean? That means I didn't have to look at AA and listen to somebody tell me to say I am an alcoholic. I was no longer an alcoholic. I was delivered and set free. And with that, I knew that I could do anything I ever set my mind to. Because what I tell you, I'm crazy. And I'm crazy enough to believe it. And so whenever people say, well, then she won't stop. She sure won't. Because her mind is set to get this done. And she's crazy enough to believe she can do it. And if you open your mouth and do it, so I ended up telling people what I went through. So that they could see, well, look at you now. Well, how did you do it? The only way you're going to ask me how did I do it is to know I did it. The only way you're going to know what I've been through is for me to tell you. And so I say to you, let somebody know. God will know who to send you to. That's right. But don't be ashamed of it. Your story is going to bring him glory. Because let me say this, not trying to preach, but you know how we are with a microphone. I want to just say this. He knows. He created you. He knows he's with you through this. And that's why if you tell nobody else, tell him. And let him know. He'll put the right people in place. He'll make sure that wherever you are, you're headed to where he has you destined. Don't let anybody hold you back, not even you. Tell your story. It's going to bring him glory.